We have such a treat this morning. We have author Roshani Chokshi with us, and she's going to talk to us about her Aru Shah series, which was a trilogy and then a quartet and is now a quintet?
Yes, 5 books.
5 books. That is astounding. And Aru was nominated Time Magazine 100 Best Fantasy Books of All Time.
Yes, it was really cool. So now me and J.R.R. Tolkien are just hanging out. Not a big deal.
You're just on the same list. You go past the same velvet ropes now. That's pretty exciting. Well, she's here. We have a group of readers and writers, this crew here. So they are excited to talk to you, excited to hear from you, and welcome to Children's Community School. Everyone can give a wave.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I have to thank you, by the way, Ms. Thomas, for saying my name right, because that never, ever happens in the entirety of my existence. As you know, is long and storied and ancient. Which actually leads me to my next question. How many of you guys have ever had your name mispronounced? Raise your hand. Isn't it awful? It's just so insulting. You're just there. I know, it's the worst. When I was growing up, because my name is Roshani, but for whatever reason, there's an A that's lurking in the middle of my first name, and it really shouldn't be there because it's silent. So when I was in school and they're doing roll call, the very first day of school would always go like this. Is Roshani Chokshi here? No. Is Roshani Chokshi here? No. And I would never hear my name said properly. And this was really annoying to me because I'm the oldest of 3 siblings. So do you guys have siblings? Any younger siblings? Yep.
I'm older.
It's the worst. Well, I don't have an older sibling. I think that would have been a lot more fun, but I'm stuck being the oldest. And so my brother, actually, his name, also like mine, ethnic, slightly confusing, his name is Jayesh. But easily for him, he can go by Jay, which is totally normal. And then we have my sister, and her name is Monica. Okay? I want you to sit with the absolute disrespect of my name being Roshani and her name being Monica. Okay? It's just not fair. It meant that every single time we go to Disney World, she can do the thing with the souvenirs and with the keychains and it spins around and she'll just be like, haha, my name. And then I'll look around and I'll find Robert. And I'm like, what? I'm not Robert. This is the closest I can find to my name. This is unjust. But there is a reason why my little sister has the name Monica. You see, when she was born, she was very, very sick to the point where my parents actually thought that we would lose her and I would never have a baby sister. So my grandmother said, change her name so that death won't find her. Creepy. Very creepy. Let us also sit with this. Change your name so death won't find you. How disorganized is death? Like when we really think about it, are they like walking down a street? They're like, yes, their social security number totally checks out. Their face ID checks out. The name is wrong. The name is all wrong. That's it. I'm going home. I hated this anyway. I want to go hang out with my 3-headed dog and watch Great British Bake Off. Goodbye. So obviously my sister turned out fine, but I still don't know what her real name is. I have actually jumped on her bed once at 4 a.m. and in my best Gollum voice, I said, tell me your true name. And she kicked me in the face. It was awful. This is what happens when you're an older sibling. We often get kicked in the face or bit or something. And whatever, I don't know how moms and dads somehow come to the conclusion that it was our fault. It's, like I said, disrespectful. Disrespect is honestly a recurring theme in my life, as you will soon find out. But the reason I always start with telling about how I ended up with the name Roshani, which is constantly mispronounced, and how my baby sister ended up with Monica, is because, well, it's the reason why I write, honestly. When I was growing up, I barely saw books that had people that looked like me on the cover, or stories that had characters with names like mine, or the same sort of mythology that I grew up with. And that was always really disappointing because, I don't know, I mean, I love Cinderella and I love Snow White, but I also love the ghost stories of the Philippines that my mom would tell me when I was growing up. And I love the tales of gods and goddesses, heroes and monsters that my Indian grandmother would tell me when I was growing up. And it always annoyed me that I never got to see that reflected in the books around me. And so that was pretty much why I wanted to start writing. I wanted to write books for people like me, but most importantly, I wanted to write stories so that I was not the only person massively terrified by my own childhood. I needed to share this because this was a lot for me to have on my shoulders. It was too much. And yet, the amazing thing is that no matter who you are, where you come from, what language you speak, what religion you practice or not, you'll find that pretty much across the entirety of the world, we're telling the same stories over and over. We write about princesses who are lost, who are trying to find sweetness in a world that is unkind to them, like Cinderella. We talk about stories where clever girls are able to see through the beast and see the person on the other side, just like Beauty and the Beast. And no matter where you are in the world, we all have our ghost stories. We all have things that creep and stalk us from the dark. And the reason, I think, why we tell fairy tales, why we come up with mythology, is because we're trying to explain the world around us. We're trying to explain, what happened to that guy? Joe just went down to the river and then he never came back. Is he okay? When really, Joe probably saw a crocodile and thought, ooh, free purse, and then died. But other people were like, no. Clearly, he offended a beautiful maiden called a siren who was singing a song, and he was like, ooh, that's a nice song, wandered into the water, and then she took him and drowned him and ate him, which is much better than, a crocodile. So these are the sort of things that are on my mind. Would you like me to tell you, very briefly, a creepy tale that I grew up with before we jump into questions?
Yeah.
Look at you, bloodthirsty little
Oh,
yeah, sure.
Yes, please.
Yes,
Alrighty,
yes,
a creepy
yes.
tale. Here we go. So,
I love stories.
oh, I'm glad. Me too. So this was a story that my mom would tell me right before bed. It is the reason why I never got taller than 5'1". It is the tale of Manananggal. So, you guys have your vampires and such. You vampires, that's cool, that's kind of creepy. And your dibuks and your demons and whatnot. But Manananggal is different. She is a creature from Filipino folklore. And she, when you see her, if you see her at dusk or, those sort of in-between times that otherworldly creatures she's just tall and she's this beautiful maiden with long dark hair and everything seems totally fine, blah, blah, blah. But then you may notice that Manananggal will wander off into a banana grove. You might think to yourself, she just likes bananas. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Wrong! Because here's what Manananggal does in the banana grove. She separates herself in half. So that means she takes her legs and she just puts them away in a banana grove. And then her top half, I don't know what she does with her dress. I imagine she just sort of weaves it floating around her. So her top half then flies up and runs around like this. This is what I would do if I was Manananggal, making this unfortunate flapping noise. Anyway, so she flies around villages, and then she on your house, on the rooftop of your house, and then scuttle, until you left your window open just a little bit, and then she creeps, and then she opens it up, and then I guess her tongue is like a proboscis, so then she shoots it out, and then sucks out your blood, and then she runs away, or she flies away. Off away she goes, back to the banana grove before dawn. And the thing is, if you are walking around a banana grove at night, I don't know why you would do this. Again, maybe you really just like bananas. Should you happen to see a pair of legs, don't just think, that's odd, somebody forgot their legs. Put salt on that. That is the only way to prevent Manananggal from joining back together. She's a bit like a slug. So she can't join her two halves together by dawn, then she does. But if she does get back together, then it's on to a new banana grove where slowly she'll find you, she'll come, suck your blood, give you nightmares, and everything is terrible. So my mom would say that's why you keep your door closed. That's why you shut the window at night and you don't try to hide or scurry off into the night when there's no sun. Otherwise, Manananggal will snatch you. That was my childhood, so anyway, that's why I'm short. But yeah, that's pretty much why I write the things that I write. I hope that you see, instead of our differences as people, I think that more often than not, you'll see similarities. that we are scared of the same things, that we care about our parents finding us, that we hope not to get separated from family, that we hope that someone sees that we are worthy and deserving of love, and to know that no matter where you are, there are probably creepy things in the dark. So don't go near that. That's not a good idea. Okay.
Ooh.
Now I want to hear your questions. Give them to me. Go.
All right, let's see. Let's see who we've got here. I'm seeing tons of hands.
Good.
All right, readers, writers. Let's go to Sylvia. Oh, I grabbed Calder. Where's Sylvia? Hold on. Thank you for raising your virtual hands too. All right, Sylvia.
So, it's more of a comment. I'm gonna have nightmares from now on.
Good. Me too. We'll all be in this together. It'll be fine.
And I really like creepy stuff too.
Yeah, creepy stuff is great. I enjoy it.
Thank you, Sylvia. Let's go to Ben. Does Sec Ben? Wait.
What I don't get is, were there a lot of banana groves where you grew up? Because so scared, because I don't think I'm that scared, because there probably isn't a banana grove within like 500 miles of where I live.
Oh yeah, you're definitely safe. If you guys were at school in Florida, we'd probably be in trouble. But you think you're okay. But my mom grew up in the Philippines, and the Philippines is this, lush island, jungle, tropical sort of place. And so yeah, she lived in fear of Mother and Belle. Good question. I like how you think. That's how you know that you would be the first to survive a zombie apocalypse. I'd be dead in like 10 seconds.
There are orange groves nearby, Ben. So look out. Look out. We saw a little bit of the video with your grandmother.
Oh.
Which was so sweet, and she was just lovely, and I could tell very full of stories. How you 300 different gods and goddesses just in Hindu mythology for pulling for Aru. How do you whittle that down? I'm focusing on the Pandavas. Brilliant.
Yes. Well, I think Arusha and the End of Time has been such a fun series to work on. It's very much, inspired by Indian mythology and also Sailor Moon and a little bit of Percy Jackson mixed in there. But when I was writing it, I knew that it would be far too much to take on. How am I supposed to say this? It would be wrong to read Arusha as an introduction to Hindu mythology, because exactly what your teacher said, it's so vast. There's no way one person can cover the whole thing. So when I was thinking about what interested me, I thought back to the stories where I felt someone hadn't been treated right. I mean, that's the best thing about revisiting mythology and revisiting fairy tales. It means that maybe you can put yourself in the shoes of the villain for once and wonder, what's the story like if it's from their perspective instead? Because what I love the most about Hindu mythology is that even the villains are capable of extraordinary acts of virtue and compassion, and even the people that we call the heroes make terrible mistakes. In fact, they're a lot like human beings in that way. So for me, I wanted to pick the stories where I thought they had a lot of gray area. So that's how I did that.
Yeah, I like that even the gods are flawed. They have vanities and jealousies. All right, back to a student question. Let's see. Alana.
Hi, I just wanted to say, do you like bananas enough to sneak into a banana grove at night and maybe get attacked by a zombie apocalypse thingy?
I don't, and I feel like maybe I've just been wrong by bananas. I feel like every single time they were an option in the school cafeteria, I would get them, and I'd always end up with the one that was either too green or like extremely bruised. And I would be like, I don't want this anymore.
Also, I just wanted to say, I haven't read your books, but I really want to. So yeah.
Good. That is the highest of compliments. If you haven't read my stories, I promise they're even funnier than I am, and I tend to think I'm quite funny. So.
I agree.
Thank you, Alana.
I agree.
Thank you, Alana. I'm going to go to Kara Sherman. Kara, let's get you up here. Hi, Kara. Good morning. Did you have a question?
Yes. Well, I actually have read Aru Shah and the End of Time. I really liked it. And I'm thinking that the other books in the series will be really good. But also, I do not like bananas.
I mean, you're right. They wrong you. You know what's even worse than bananas, though? It's those fruit cups where they fill it with cantaloupe. Who even likes cantaloupe? You know, and then you have a piece of strawberry in it, and then the strawberry tastes like cantaloupe too, and then everything just gets poisoned by a melon. So I understand how
the only melon I actually like is watermelon.
Oh, I do like watermelon.
I like watermelon. I like lemon too.
Thank you, Carl. Let's move to, let's see. How about Teti? I see your hand up. Let's go to you. Just a second. There you go.
I agree with the pain of having a younger brother and having my name constantly mispronounced. Also, I'm very glad I didn't choose a banana tree to plant in my backyard.
What tree did you plant?
We planted a grape tree, like vine or whatever.
Ooh, that's so cool. That's I see it. Is that it?
There.
Is it? No, I can't see. Don't judge me.
Thank you, Teti. All right, let's go to... Now, these friends, some of these classes have been doing a lot of world building this year. They have been...
Awesome.
One class is writing science fiction right now. Wow. And another class, and the same class created a world, their own world, from ground up. Everything, the society, the politics, the money, the anthem. So here's a question before we get to the next student question. When you are creating a world for a story, what do you think of first? Is it a character or a setting?
So that's very interesting. There are two things I ask myself. When I am writing a character, you know, we always talk about what does a character want, and I think that's very important. But I think for me, the thing I'm interested in as a human is what is somebody guilty of? What's the thing that keeps them up at night? Maybe, you know, let's pretend we're in a zombie apocalypse world. Maybe somebody was really good, but this is messed up, but here we go. Let's say that they're an older sibling and they had younger siblings and they were strong enough to carry two of them, but they couldn't carry the third one. What happened to them? Maybe we don't know if the younger sibling died. Maybe it's a whole other perspective of someone who ended up becoming like a zombie apocalypse warlord. But that main character we're thinking about lives with the guilt of not knowing what happened to them. So for me, that's always an interesting character question. And when I'm coming up with a world, a huge, you know, secondary world or whatever, there is one question I always start with, and it ends up being the thing that tells me almost everything I need to know about a world. And that is, what do they do with their dead? Now, it sounds like perhaps a creepy way to start. This is fair. I tend to be a very creepy person. But the reason why that's important is because it tells you, one, what do people believe in? Do they have a god or a goddess? Is there a pantheon of people that they worship? Do they believe in life after death? And then in that case, does it matter what they do in this one life? Or do they not believe in anything at all? Are the people who deal with the dead mistreated in some way, which is something that has happened historically in India? A lot of people may not know this, but India infamously has something called the caste system. And that caste system can be really, really brutal and terrible to the people who are treated at the bottom of that caste system. So, yeah, that tells me something. It also tells me, like, what do they give to the people who died? Are you buried as if you're an Egyptian mummy with all of your belongings because you're going to need this in the next life? Or is it sort of like a Viking ritual where you're put on a boat and then sent off into the sea and then they shoot flaming arrows into it? And that's pretty cool too. So to me, those are the questions that I start with.
Ooh, I might choose Viking burial. Or some sort of pie festival, maybe. Okay. How about Calder? Calder, coming over to you, friend.
Are you planning to have, like, to make movies out of your book, or have you already made some, or are you not planning?
Ooh, good question. You know, I love that you say, am I planning? Because it makes it sound like I actually have control over the situation, when in reality, I don't have any control. But I will say that Arusha has been optioned to become a movie by Paramount Pictures, which is super cool. And what it means when something is optioned is just that they have the option of turning it into a movie, but it is not, alas, a guarantee. And as for my other books, we have some percolating something in the works. But again, nothing that they'll let me talk about. So no. In the grand scheme of stuff, it's still really exciting. Most books never get to the stage where somebody wants to turn it into a movie. So I'm truly just very grateful, and I'm excited to see what may happen.
I have a good feeling about it. Calder and I are going to get tickets to it for sure. All right, let's go to Zoya. Zoya. Zoya, friend, can you come a little bit closer to your screen? Say that one more time. You're just very quiet for us.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, couldn't hear you.
I want to go to radio. So how did you get where you went?
Oh, well, one, I think that is wonderful that you already know what you want to be when you grow up. I forgot. I think up until the age of 14, I was determined to become a witch or a sorceress, and it just never happened. It's fine. I'm living with that disappointment. So the things that I did in terms of getting better at writing, I wrote a lot of fan fiction. I love fan fiction. Be careful where you find it. But yeah, it was great to be able to play with somebody else's characters, to play in a different world altogether, and also sometimes just to try out another author's writing style and see if it worked for me. So that would be my advice. I published my first book in 2016, and before then, I think the hardest thing about writing is just to finish a thing. It is so hard when you're distracted and you're super creative and you have all these ideas happening in your head that it's almost impossible to finish a project. So,
yeah.
I see a lot of a nodding there about, yes, so many ideas, lots of people with ideas. All right, let's go to Tate.
Hold on, let me lower my hand.
Next caller.
Okay. First of all, I kind of would like to be a writer. I haven't read your books yet, but they look really, really good.
they are good.
And what was I going to say? Can you come back to me?
Sure. You got it, Tate. We'll go back. Let's go to Savannah. Hi, Savannah.
Have you ever had trouble writing or had writer's block before?
Yes. Oh, I hate it. I hate writer's block. And I've always found that there's a couple ways for me to fix it. One, if I'm struggling to move forward in the story, chances are that I made a mistake earlier in the story. You know what I mean? I'm just like, wait a minute, this isn't where they're supposed to be, and I don't really like this. Other things that I found help me, write about the scene that you're writing about. Just tell yourself, what's supposed to happen here on this page? Or make your characters talk to each other. That's always pretty helpful. Other ways that I get over writer's block is, one, I watch my favorite movie or I reread my favorite book because that always sort of gets my mind excited about story all over again. Or I read a book that I absolutely hate and I tell myself that person could do it, I definitely can. And these are the things that tend to inspire.
You might be on an author panel with some of these friends someday. They're ready. Let's go to Graylin. Do I see your hand up?
Did.
All right, hold on, Graylin.
I've been waiting. I actually been waiting the entire week. And now I've forgotten what I was going to say because it's been so long.
Well, thank you for waiting. Would you like us to come back to you?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Graylin. Let's go to Tucker. Tucker's been waiting.
Well, I'm in Florida.
Ooh. Uh-oh. You have bananas?
You're both in the same time zone, I think.
Ooh. Have you befriended an alligator?
But I'm leaving on Saturday to go to Atlanta, so I think I'll be safe.
You'll be good. I'm in Atlanta. I haven't seen a single banana grow.
I know. But right here, there's not a banana growing here anywhere. But also, I read your books, and I read one of your books in Literature Circle, and I really liked it. And
Thank you, Tucker. Tucker is a big reader.
Thank you very much,
Big
Tucker. I
time.
appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Tucker. All right, let's go. Let's go to Miles. And friends, are going to be wrapping up here in just a minute, so we might not get to everyone's question. Let's go to Miles, and then we're going to say goodbye soon. So Miles. Good morning, Miles.
Hi. Okay, so I had a question. Do you know any other writers?
Yes, I do. I'm actually friends with Rick Riordan. Like, actual friends, which is ridiculous. Obviously, you may or may not have heard about him. He wrote this little book called Percy Jackson. It's fine, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. I love Percy Jackson. I actually got to read his newest book, which isn't going to come out until October, and that's actually called Daughter of the Deep. It's a science fiction book. It's sort of based off of 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea. There's a Leviathan. There's all kinds of cool sea monster stuff. It's amazing.
Oh, great question. Thank you, Miles. All right, friends. I'm going to come back up here. Well, thank you so much for this. We know you are busy, hopefully writing us more stories. And
yes, I am in the middle of Aru 5 right now, which is unfortunately why I could only hang out with you guys for a half hour. I have to return to my sad books and my even sadder cat. I don't know if you can see now.
Oh my god. I'm so curious. Okay, so you're in 5 now. How long? We've been talking about writing is rewriting and how much time you give to your writing. Just for a last question, can you tell us about how long it takes you to write a book and how many different edits do you go through?
Gosh, okay. So for me, I hate the first draft. I never get a story right on the first draft. If somebody gets a story right on their first try, you are someone that I officially now hate. It's just not fair. So rude. So it takes me about 6 months to write a story, mostly because I'm on contract and I have this thing called a mortgage. One day you will also find out what this is. It's a terrible, terrible thing. So I have to write a story in about 6 months. And then I have maybe 2 months to sit with it, to think about the things I want to change. And then after that, I spend the rest of those 6 months working with my editor on how to fix it. I love my editor. My editor is basically like my teacher, even now, which is wonderful because then I have someone to hold my hand and show me all the places where I'm doing something wrong, all the places where I can make it even better. And I don't know, it just helps fix the story ultimately. So that's usually it. It's a long process. I will say though that I have had the last line of Aru Shah and the fifth book. I'll just tell you what it is, but you can't put it online. Do you nod, say that you agree?
We agree.
Okay.
We all agree.
The fifth and final book in Aru Shah is going to be called Aru Shah and the Nectar of Immortality. I would really like Nectar of Immortality. Instead, I'm drinking this thing, which is a green smoothie, and it is as awful as it looks. It looks like Shrek's sweat. I hate it. So, yeah. That's the writing process. That's been all I got.
Ooh, the Nectar of Immortality.
Yes, you guys were wonderful. I loved your questions. If I didn't get to them, please feel free to send me an email. My contact form is on my website. Your lovely teacher, I'm sure, can share the link with you, and I'll do my best to respond. But you guys have excellent questions. I'm very excited for all of you to just conquer the world and be the storytellers of the gods and for all ages. And for those of you occasionally visiting Florida, perhaps you will befriend an alligator and you can, take it to the grocery store or something like that. It'll be great.
Thank you. Everyone throw her some love. Thank you so much for being here.
Bye. I have a question.
Bye, guys.
What if you see a banana grove and a pair of legs, but you don't have salt? Do you get the heck out of there, or do you die?
Well, it is really not.
What if you have a nuclear missile?
Then you'll be fine. Ramadan Ball won't stand a chance. But just carry salt with you in case. Or hot sauce. I think hot sauce would also do the trick.
Yeah, I think we could have a cool short story collection. Goodbye. Thank you.